friends, I'm Scott from Sharky's Greenhouses and Beat Your Neighbor Fertilizer, and today I want to show you something really cool. Now I've got this coleus here that I planted it in packing peanuts. Now should I have planted it in these nutritious packing peanuts? No, of course not. That's ridiculous, and it's a ridiculous example, but you know what? Some of you do this, and you go to the big box retailer and the grocery stores and the Home Cheapo chains, and you pick up that garbage soil and you try to plant nice beautiful plants and flowers in the equivalent of packing peanuts, and it doesn't work. You just get frustrated and your flowers don't turn out, and you're like, oh Scott, I just don't have a green thumb like you do, I have a brown thumb. Well, no, it's probably because you're doing dumb things like getting garbage soil, okay? This will never work. There's no nutrients here, there's nothing for it, and even if you use our good Beat Your Neighbor fertilizer, there's no delivery system for the nutrients because it's packing peanuts. Same thing as when you get that garbage soil. Stop doing that. You need good soil, and that's why we always preach on having good soil. That is your starting point for having beautiful plants and flowers. You wouldn't build a home on top of sand, right? No, you would pour a concrete foundation, a basement, something good and strong, solid foundation. And that's what soil is. That's your solid foundation. Because if we get this wrong, we can't move on from there, okay? Your plants will never turn out good. Cheap soil equals cheap results. They'll never have big, beautiful plants and flowers if you're using the wrong types of soils. So stop going to the grocery store and the big box retailers and buying the garbage soil. Those big national brands, none of us that actually do this for a living use those soils, and you shouldn't either. So I'm going to talk about some of our favorite soils and what we use in our greenhouses. And as a disclaimer, I know thousands of you are going to message me and email me and say, hey Scott, where can I find the soil in my area? Here's the answer. Watch to the end of the video, I'll tell you, okay? So first we're going to talk about is Jolly Gardener. Now Jolly Gardener is what we use mostly in our greenhouses. I know it's a little bit harder to find, but this is a really good soil that we do like. So the Jolly Gardener is a nice quality soil, and it has this hydrofiber in it, and that's something new for this year, and we did a whole video just on hydrofiber, and I encourage you to go back and watch that video because we talk exclusively about hydrofiber. I really like it, and because it really traps in that moisture, and it gives these great big hanging baskets. It holds that moisture content, so for a lot of people it's going to be a big help for them because it's holding that moisture in. Good quality soil like Jolly Gardener, this is something that we use mostly in our greenhouses. Second on my list is Sungrow. We do use a lot of Sungrow, and this is just their all-purpose mix. And it's a very coarse mix, and you can see there's a lot of perlite in there. I'm not a big fan of perlite because it's just filler, but it's okay. You know, there's some bark mix in there. It is a very chunky mix, and it's pretty good. I do like the Sungrow. I do like this all-purpose mix, and it also has the slow release fertilizer in that. If you look in the soil, you can see the little pellets of slow release fertilizer. Now let me talk just a little bit about the slow release fertilizer. We did a whole video just on that, the slow release fertilizer and the slow release fertilizer that is in the soils. Does that mean that you don't have to fertilize with a good fertilizer like our Beat Your Neighbor fertilizer? And the answer is no. That does not substitute for a weekly feeding with fertilizer. Now the slow release, think of it as a vitamin for you, okay? Now I would not go and say, you know what, I took my Flintstone vitamin this morning, so therefore I don't need to even eat today. I don't need to eat breakfast, lunch, or supper. I wouldn't do that because this is meat and potatoes, okay? The slow release fertilizer, think of it as a vitamin for the plants. It's just a little bit, but it's not sustaining. And when they say, oh, it feeds up to 6 months. Okay, if it feeds for up to 6 months, then think about the amount of fertilizer that plant is getting over 6 months. It's very, very little. So it's not sustaining. It's not a substitute for fertilizing at least once a week with Beat Your Neighbor fertilizer. So moving on from there, so we do like the Sungrow. It's a pretty good quality mix. This Glee, this is a new one that we've been trying out in our greenhouses, and you know, I do like it. It's totally different. it's very light and airy. So this Glee mix, it's packed in here pretty tight. So when you open up this package, it makes a lot more soil than what's in package because it's kind of compressed down. And again, this is mostly hydrofiber. You know, going back to what they use in the Jolly Gardener, that hydrofiber, that moisture control that really holds in the water. I've got several plants in this, and I'm saying I do like it. You know, again, it's kind of new for us, and once it gets wet, it really traps in that water. But you know, right now it's light and airy until you plant, and then it really traps in that water. So if you're a person that kind of forgets to water your plants and flowers, the hydrofiber might be for you. Now, in the opposite case, if you're a person that overwaters consistently, and you pick up soil that has a hydrofiber in it, you're gonna have to be careful because you're going to run into trouble if you consistently overwater, because like I said, that hydrofiber really traps in the water. And lastly, I'm going to talk about germinating mix. Now, germinating mix is exactly what it says. It's for starting seeds, and you need a very light mix for starting seeds. But I like using a little bit of germinating mix, and because it helps break up some of those harder soils. You know, I will mix in with my Jolly Gardener. We have a great big soil mixer. I'll mix in 3 bags of the Jolly Gardener soil with 1 bag of germinating mix, and it just helps to break that up when I'm doing my bedding plants or my potted containers. So there's a little bit of perlite and a lot of peat moss, and it just helps to lighten up that soil. So these are the 3 that I do like. Okay, so the Jolly Gardener, the Sungrow. I'm really liking this Glee also, but we mostly use Jolly Gardener in our greenhouses. Now, as promised, where can you find these soils in your area? And the answer is, you know, we're a small business and we want to promote small businesses. So our first step that we're going to tell you is check with your local greenhouses. And I'm talking the actual guys and gals that are growing for a living. So check with them, see what they are using. And I guarantee it's not those big national brands that are the equivalent of packing peanuts, okay? None of us that are in the business of growing are using those big national brands that are junk and just frustrate people. So check with your local greenhouses first, but if you can't find it there, we do have some of these soils available online at our beatyourneighbor.com website. If you go into the shop section, you can find the Sungrow and also the Glee, along with our Beat Your Neighbor fertilizer. So if you head on over to beatyourneighbor.com, you can find all those things. Now, I know a lot of you are watching from all over the country and all over the world, and you might not even step foot into our greenhouses, and that's okay, because our desire is for you to have beautiful plants and flowers. When you have a yard full of beautiful flowers, it just makes the world a little bit happier place. And when you're happy, we're happy. Be sure to give us a thumbs up on our videos and to follow us on Facebook, and head over to YouTube where you can subscribe to our channel there. We have hundreds of videos, including the video where we're talking about soil and the hydrofiber. We have videos on watering and fertilizing. We have hundreds of how-to videos. So that's a great place to watch our videos there. And also head over to beatyourneighbor.com where you can find the soils and of course our Beat Your Neighbor fertilizer. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.